Baltimore teacher has been fired after calling her students the N-word and telling them that they're gonna get shot. Watch this disturbing video.
Get out of my class! You're just sitting here and doing nothing! Day after day after day! Get out! Leave! Get out! You're idiots! Education! But you want to be a punk ass nigger who's gonna get shot! Stop saying that!
Well, she can take a class in class control, I think. She's doing a good job.
Seriously. So if you couldn't hear her in the video, she says you have the chance to get an education, but you want to be a punk-ass N-word who's gonna get shot. Now, she has been fired, and the Baltimore City Public Schools has released a statement saying that no form of discriminatory behavior of any kind is or will be tolerated. So at least they acted promptly, but this is extremely disturbing video, and frankly I thought it was disturbing before she even dropped the N-word, seeing how she was reacting to these middle school children and calling them idiots and the way that she was responding to them, and then to drop that word and say that they're going to get shot was vile, and she deserved what happened to her.
I might be a lone voice here. I'm curious what you guys think. So I think that in her rage, which was clearly out of control, she was trying to in some way speak to them in a way that would get their attention, and that she misguidedly thought would empathize with them, or not empathize is not the right word, but like in her mind, which is not true, in her mind she thought, I'll speak their language.
Yeah, I'll connect with them.
I'll connect with them, right? I think that's what she was trying to do. Am I crazy?
No, I hear what you're saying, because when I watched it and I was horrified, right? And then you start to think about it a little bit more, and I do think that she was trying to, in her weird way, inspire them, being like, okay, you need to prioritize your education, because you don't want to, like for anybody who doesn't prioritize their education, not have a job, end up on the streets, whatever it may be. But she did so in the wrong way.
She was dealing with some badass kids. Can we be real here? Those kids are bad as hell. And she is a white lone woman in this room with people that were threatening her. Did you watch the whole video? The way they were talking to her? They were bossing up on her. And I'm not condoning the use of the N-word. I think her approach was all wrong. I thought she saw Michelle Pfeiffer's movie and she was like, I'm going in here and I'm gonna talk to these kids in their own language, and the kids were videotaping it. This is the reality of it, is that this is what happens with these police officers and these teachers. This white lady is in school in Baltimore. She is in the middle of the hood trying to teach kids, and she can't connect with them. Just like the issues that we have with officers that are out there scared of these kids, she thought she was gonna resonate with them. I don't think, and listen, what she said was appalling. Everybody is gonna be, oh my God, oh my God. But the truth of the matter is that who's gonna be in that classroom now? Who's gonna teach those kids? Because now they don't have a teacher. It's, November? And I know that we get outraged and we get, oh my God, the language and the words and the alphabet of words that you can't say. I think what she said was wrong. But the bigger issue is, why is that classroom so fucked up? Why are those kids out of control like that? What the hell is going on?
So a similar point I thought of is, like you said in the beginning there, she went to go teach them. So it's not like she's like, I can't stand black people. She went to go teach kids in Baltimore. Yeah. It's not like you don't know where, the race of the kids in Baltimore. You know it. I mean, I don't know the circumstances of like whether she was assigned, to be fair, or she chose to teach in Baltimore. So I'm hoping that she had a little bit of like, I want to help folks, right? Now, everybody agrees the language is wrong, right?
I think what she was saying though was that per the perception of the status quo, or the people that go out and shoot them, that's how they see them. Listen, tone and delivery, white lady, tone and delivery is something you gotta learn in the community with the people, with the browns and the blacks. You gotta watch that tone and delivery. But I don't think she's there on behalf of white supremacy. I think that she just
I didn't get that sense either.
She made a poor call. She made a bad judgment call.
I think it was think it was the hard ER that indicated she didn't know
she's not from
where
there.
she was going with it. There's punk ass niggas, and then there's the way she said it. So, and a lot of people, for some reason, I think they refuse to catch the difference and nuance of it. But if you think you're going to connect with kids you're teaching, you know when you're actually connecting with kids. You know if you actually know where they come from because you maybe spend more time with them than an hour or so of the day that you spent. That's middle school or something. I think they still change classes at that point. You probably, there's white folks, there's Asian folks, there's Latinos who know black community, and black folks know it. They know people. They're like, oh, I feel you. You know, right off the bat who the right folks are. And the way she was yelling at them, she wasn't one of them people. So I can buy 15% of what you're saying, but the other 85%, she's just mad and she doesn't like those kids.
Well, I'm not saying that she is one of the people that's with the people. What I'm saying is that what she was saying, what I think she was saying was that's their that's what the people that shoot you, that's how they perceive you. I'm not saying that she was coming from a place of empathy, but I think she was trying to move them. I don't think that's what I'm saying. She didn't belong in that classroom because she's not of the ilk that can hang with that. And that's obvious because she fell apart in the classroom, and that's a catastrophe.
Yeah, but do you set up that sort of conversation to have that conversation if that's her motive? By calling them idiots and screaming at them? Like, I just don't think, like, it's all context dependent, right? Because that's all we have. We have this 2-minute clip to kind of try to understand what her motives were. And so that is difficult. But starting off the clip, screaming at a child to get out in the way that she was, calling them idiots, I don't think is setting up for the kind of productive conversation that you're talking about.
I agree, but I will say that this, as a woman of color who stands on the front line for people of color on the daily, we get so caught up so much with these incidents and we don't get to the root of the problem. And it's easy to stand on the front line with a picket sign and say, oh my God, they use the words, this is outrageous. The truth of the matter is I roll up my sleeves, I go into the hood and I deal with these kids on a daily basis. I go to the correctional centers and the problem is, the real problem is the nucleus of the issue is that school is messed up. Those issues and those kids have needs that goes far beyond some white neurotic woman who had a meltdown because she was afraid in the middle of a bunch of black kids because these white people have been programmed to be scared of black people. That's the problem we have with the police and with the cops and all of these issues. So what I'm saying is we're so focused on this woman having this meltdown. She's been fired, but nobody is going to be outraged about the circumstances of that school and say, hey, what do we do about these children and how do we fix these schools in Baltimore? And that's what I'm saying, which is my greater concern, because she's been fired and it's over. Those 30 kids, what's going to happen to them? Because obviously there is something going on there that's a bigger problem than some white lady who had a meltdown.
Because, by the way, all of us have been in classrooms where our teachers screamed at us.
Yeah.
I think all of us have experienced that. Everyone has a story. There was someone else told me their teacher called them blood-sucking bugs because they're sucking the life out of me. And then usually kids go, because that was funny. And then maybe it calms for a second, but every teacher loses it. We've heard that.
No,
Swear to God.
I grew up. I went to Catholic schools first 12 years in my life, and when we were in Catholic high school, I was in several classes that were completely out of control. And these are white kids in the suburbs of the Chicago. I came from the city. I had to take a bus to go there, but a lot of them were from the suburbs, white kids, and they were maniacs, man, out of control, banging, and especially if there was a weak teacher, they could sniff it out, and they would just go nuts on them. And so what was happening there, again, it's just a short snippet of what was happening, but I think a lot of people would look at that and go, oh, look how out of control they are in the inner city. I could take you to a suburb, in the 80s of a white Catholic school, and kids just even more so out of control. So I feel sorry for that woman, in a sense, right? Because that's a tough thing to have to deal with, and everybody has a... But, and she is there trying to teach them, right? So it's not like she went there with a gun trying to screw them up. She was trying to help them, and she lost her cool, and that's not cool.
Yeah. So, look, I grew up in a suburb in the 80s, and if we sensed that a substitute teacher was weak, we would pounce.
Pounce.
And so, you know why? Because kids are barbarians. Right? I mean, if you, the Lord of the Flies ain't no joke. That's real life, okay? So don't let them have the conch. Okay, that's true all across the world. But look, in almost all these scenarios, I always wish that they wouldn't fire the person within day one, that they have a little bit of a conversation. And so, like, if I was a principal, I know that the principal's got to have, and the superintendent, a world of pressure. And I'm sure a lot of folks in the community are angry and stuff. But I would want to calm things down a little bit and go, here, let's talk it out. Let me talk to the teacher. Let me see her side of the story and why she said that. And then let me bring some parents in and have the teacher talk to the parents.
But if somebody here used that word and they lost their cool and were expressing themselves in the way that she was, and that happened on camera or whatever, you would have a conversation. Like, I think that I really do think that needs to be that sort of swift action to be like, no, this isn't okay, this isn't acceptable. Look, I get what you're saying, like, there's unruly kids everywhere, but at the same time, like, I've lost my cool. I've seen, we've seen you guys lose your cool or whatever. That's not the first thought to your head when you're dropping that word or dropping, any sort of racial slur. Like, I don't think that's the thing that comes to the forefront of your mind. I think that's a more deep-rooted issue.
So I want to go on the deep end here and say something. And I think that as a stand-up comedian, because we do say things that a lot of people take offense to, and a lot of people think we're pushing the line. I honestly believe that if we continue on this path of muzzling people, we're never ever going to get anywhere. I think that there has to be a dialogue. Just like that white woman spit out that word, ostracizing her, firing her, moving her along, and sending her out into the world bitter now. She's going to be bitter, and she has this whole idea. We don't have these. America is racially constipated, and we are so stuck on not offending people by what we say, but we don't get to the root of the problem. And we have to start talking about this from an honest place, because I don't have to reach you about being a bigot. You are not a bigot. It's not in your DNA, and it's not in your wiring and in your programming. I don't have to reach you. But there are so many people out there that we have the opportunity to reach, and we don't, because you said the bad word, it's over. We don't want to talk to you anymore. And I just think that at this point, that school can't afford to lose any teachers. You think she should have been gone, or think they should have sat her down and say, listen, you trying to reach these kids, this is not the way to reach them.
They're going to get a worse one.
Yeah,
or the same,
I mean, and it's just...
because there's no care about what's going to get put in the school. And that's totally where I agree with you. Because the base for all of it always happens. What's going into this school? They say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but there's no bootstraps.
Yeah, see, that's why I say if you began the conversation and brought the teacher and parents in, et cetera, another thing you could do is you could do it on TV. Now it's a big story, right? You could do it on local TV, on a Sunday, get together, and then start talking about, hey, let's talk about the underlying problem here, which is we got no money here, right? And we can't, the kids can't bring the books home, then they can't learn, and then the teachers get frustrated. You could begin to open up all those conversations instead of shutting it down. And so, and to answer your question, Hannah, no, I would be really surprised if somebody said something really wrong on the air if I fired them on day one. I think I would definitely talk to them. I'd have a lot of conversations around it, try to figure out why they said it, and try to look for the context. Podcast the whole 2-hour Young Turks every single day, commercial-free, All-Star Tuesdays, Aggressive Progressives, Old School, Post Games, TYT Classics. You get it all with membership. Do it now, tytnetwork.com/join.